Posada may not be that wrong. Things are happening in the US with the changing demographics of our population, the rise of the Hispanic population within the United States, the number of businesses coming from Mexico to the Southwest that are changing that we're not even really aware of. But there's a Mexicanization taking place in our country. Don't believe me? Call your bank. And if you want to speak Spanish, push 1. Think of the number of businesses that you know of where you have the option which language you want to speak. That's pretty interesting. The number 1 snack in the United States, tortilla chips. Tortilla chips. And many of them are made by tortilla producing companies like the one in East Los Angeles. Most of the tortillas made in this country that are not made by hand are made by companies owned by Maseca, a Mexican tortilla company with 13 that has tortilla making plants in the US, Canada, and 11 other places outside of Mexico. They're the world's greatest tortilla group monopoly in the world. Wow, come on. Abel might be onto something here, right? This is fascinating what's taking place. And, well, he's funny. And this was funny in 1962, but interesting things. And so let me conclude with Posada by saying, hey, the most interesting man in the world, the most interesting man in the world doesn't always drink beer, but when he does, he drinks Dos Equis. Dos Equis is not brewed here, I can tell you that. It's brewed south of us. And the rest of the time, I imagine he drinks Coca-Cola, and as we all know, people prefer to drink their Coca-Cola made with real sugar, not sugar cane. Okay, because that's wonderful. Now, another form of political humor is political humor that shows up in comic books. And probably the most famous Mexican comic book of all time is La Familia Burrón. La Familia Burrón is Gabriel Vargas is the artist. And look at how long this was in existence. 48 to 2009. Vargas died then, that's why it didn't continue. And look at the family there. The family is great. Doña Barola is the mother, the housewife, the person in charge. And I have to make sure I get the names right. Don Reginio is the father. You see him, great mustache. Well, not, maybe second place when it comes to mustaches. But great mustache. And he's a barber. He works as a barber. And then the son, the older son, is Reginio Chico. Fulfero is the other son. The kid is adopted down at the bottom. And then there's the daughter, Macuza, who's a pill in all of these cartoons. Now, what's funny about La Familia Burrón, we're talking about a society that I think if I polled all of you and said, what's the most macho country in Latin America, in the world? At least a substantial number of you would say it's Mexico. Is it? I don't know. Because in La Familia Buron, guess who runs the show? Who dominates, decides what the family's going to do, and what Regino is going to do when he gets off work, what the friends are going to do. Who walks the dog? The dog's name is Wilson, by the way. Who walks Wilson? Well, it's not Doña Barola at all. It's one of the kids or Regino have to walk the dog. She has things to do. She makes decisions. She runs this family. People love the family Baron. I know of no sociological studies about Mexico based on La Familia Baron. But you could do it. It could be done. It would be a great study. And it would be great to look at all of these family relationships and how they're working out. It makes me think, this is only for the males in the audience. I have this feeling, guys, that this whole macho interpretation is a joke that women let us tell each other. Look around and look at the woman sitting closest to you. And they're nodding. Sure, that's exactly what's going on. La Familia Baron. Wow. Fabulous. All right, here's another set of political cartoons. Famous. This, Los Super Machos, is a cartoon that was the work of Rios, is his cartoon name. Right, you can see it on the name there, Rios. And Rios, his real name is Eduardo del Rio. And he started out with the Super Machos. Then he had an argument with the publisher, and the publisher owned the copyright of Super Machos. And so Rios, basically, it's not clear. He was either fired or quit. You know, depends on who's telling the story. But Los Super Machos ended because he couldn't do it anymore. The publisher wouldn't let him continue the series because it was getting too critical. And here's this, you can tell this guy's a shyster, right? Who's talking to his brother-in-law, that his suegro, that, hey, I've got this good deal on a condominium for you. Selling a property to him. And the old suegro there in his pajamas, I love that. These are the kinds of things. This is businessmen in this community. They're great. A lot of people collect Rios cartoons, and because they deal with a village in Michoacan. And so that if you know Michoacan, you're interested in Michoacan, you find out about what was going on in this community. And of the people who were there, almost everybody's favorite is an Indian. He really is an Indian, not an Indio. He's an Indio character. In San Garabacho is the name of the village. Calzoncin is the Indian's name. Calzoncin. He doesn't wear a poncho because the Mexican government has brought him into modern life. And so instead of being wrapped up in his serape poncho, he's wrapped up in an electric blanket. And that shows that he's modern, that he has this electric blanket. And you see him strolling around, and the cord will be dragging. Well, whenever he happens to plug the cord in, it knocks out the electricity in the whole community. So he doesn't plug it in very often, and people try to prevent him from doing that. There's also a town drunk. It's fabulous. A town drunk. There's the mayor, whose name is Don Perpetua, the perpetual Don in charge of everything. And there's a whole series of other characters. After Super Machos died, then Rius began publishing another series of cartoons that's called Los Aguachados, the stooped ones, Los Aguachados. And you can see those. You can go online, and there's actually a Super Macho film that was done by someone and some interviews that were done with Rius, and you can see the kinds of things that he tried to accomplish. He's deeply, deeply involved in politics. And so he published a number of books about politics in Mexico that are cartoons books. And some of these have been translated into English, and people use them in their classes. So, for example, Rius did Marx for Beginners, understanding Marxism through the eyes of Rius. And he did Cuba and Castro for Beginners. So you can see his take on Cuba. And he's done other ones on Mexico and other places. So they're really outstanding to see how one, I would call him a public intellectual, how one public intellectual interprets Mexican life and the world around him. And he's still active, and he's grumpy. It's because things aren't going the way he would like them to go. Rius, definitely somebody to consider in our talk about humorists. Now, another famous form of public humor is magazine covers. And someone has written that magazine covers in Mexico in the 40s and 50s are more important than the murals, because many more people see these magazine covers than ever see the murals. Some of the murals are in buildings where, a humble Mexican would not go. Presidential executive office? Some guy comes from San Garabacho. Is he going to go there? Not likely. Or the ones that were in major hotels? No, probably not going to see those either. Or the ones that were done at the National Prep School? Prepa Uno? No, not going there. So many of them were not seen. This is an example of Thursdays. On Thursdays, Excelsior published a magazine. Sort of like Parade, but bigger. Parade magazine in the newspapers. This is so funny. If you know what's going on here, let me tell you what this is all about. See the guy there in the red turtleneck? He says, I was in the gray automobile gang. The Gray Automobile Gang is one of Mexico's earliest movies. And the Gray Automobile Gang in the 20s was a real gang of outlaws, kidnapping people, doing things like that in Mexico City. They were finally captured and taken care of. And this is a famous movie. And they were a famous group. So a lot of people know about them and know what happened with them. Then he's talking to the guy in the gabardine suit